I put my daughter to bed and opened TikTok. A woman smiled, "My boyfriend hates too much garlic." Then the camera moved, and my husband was behind her, beside a child's Father's Day card. I stopped breathing, then took screenshots. For a few seconds, my brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. He was sitting at a kitchen counter, half in the frame, laughing like he belonged there. Like that kitchen was normal. Like the woman stirring pasta had every right to call him her boyfriend. And I knew that hoodie. Dark blue, soft around the collar from too many washes, with a loose thread near the sleeve. I bought it for him the previous winter after he joked that all his old hoodies made him look like a college dropout. He wore it at home. He wore it to school pickup. He wore it when he kissed our daughter goodnight. Now he was wearing it in another woman's kitchen. I sat frozen on the couch while the dishwasher hummed behind me. The house was quiet except for the dog breathing near the back door and the low sound of the video replaying. The woman laughed and said something about adding extra cheese. Then my husband's voice came from off camera. "Don't burn it this time." My stomach went cold. I paused the video, rewound it, watched again. There was no mistake. It was Grant, my husband of 12 years, the father of my daughter. The man who had texted me 2 hours earlier saying he was exhausted in his hotel room after a long drive. At first, my mind tried to protect me with ridiculous excuses. Maybe the video was old. Maybe it was a work dinner. Maybe she called him boyfriend as a joke. Maybe he was in the background by accident. Maybe I was losing my mind. But the caption said, "Making my boyfriend's favorite pasta after a long day." My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. I clicked her profile. Her name was Paige. Her page was mostly food videos, small apartment updates, thrifted decor, little jokes about learning to cook better meals, and clips of a little boy running through the background with toy cars. Nothing about her looked suspicious at first. She looked normal, warm, a little messy, the kind of woman who filmed her coffee and posted about rainy days. Then I started seeing him. Not fully at first. His hand reaching across the counter for a mug. His shoes by the hallway. His laugh in the background. A man's shoulder beside her on the couch. A photo slideshow from a weekend trip where his face was mostly cropped out, but his arm was around her waist. I knew the shape of that hand because that hand wore a wedding ring with my name engraved inside it. I kept scrolling. Then I found the Father's Day video. It was a breakfast table. Pancakes, fruit, coffee, syrup in a little glass jar. A child's drawing was propped beside a plate. The writing was crooked and uneven. "Happy Father's Day." The caption said, "We love you more than pancakes." I ran to the bathroom and threw up. My daughter Ivy knocked a minute later, her voice half asleep. "Mom? Are you okay?" I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand and said, "I'm fine, baby. I just ate something bad." That lie still hurts. Because what was I supposed to say? That I had just watched her father sit in another woman's apartment like he lived there? That there might be another child making Father's Day cards for the same man who told her she was his whole world? I stayed on the bathroom floor until my legs stopped shaking. Then I went back to the couch and started recording everything. Screenshots. Screen recordings. Dates. Captions. Comments. Anything with his voice, his clothes, his hands, his reflection in a window. Anything he could not explain away later. Because I knew Grant. He was calm under pressure. He could turn a lie into a misunderstanding if you gave him enough room. If I confronted him too early, he would delete things, deny things, twist things, and make me feel crazy for believing my own eyes. So I said nothing. The next morning, he called during breakfast. Ivy was eating cereal across from me, swinging her legs under the chair. His name lit up on my screen, and I stared at it like I was looking at a stranger wearing my husband's face. I answered. "Morning," he said. "How's my favorite girl?" Ivy smiled and grabbed the phone. "Dad, penguins have knees." Mom didn't know. He laughed. "Normal. Warm. Easy." I watched my daughter giggle into the phone and felt something inside me crack so quietly nobody else could hear it. When she handed the phone back, he said, "I'll be home tomorrow night." One more meeting. I looked at Paige's profile open on my laptop. She had posted 12 minutes earlier. A coffee mug on a counter. 2 plates. A toy truck near the sink. I said, "Okay. Drive safe." My voice sounded normal. That scared me. For the next 2 weeks, I became someone I barely recognized. I checked bank statements after Ivy went to bed. I opened old emails. I went through shared calendars. I looked at hotel charges, gas receipts, and cash withdrawals I had ignored for years because marriage is supposed to include trust. Grant had always traveled for work. Supplier meetings, client dinners, trade events. Sometimes Reno. Sometimes Spokane. Sometimes places that sounded boring enough that I never asked too many questions. He sent pictures of hotel carpets or bad coffee and complained about being tired. It all seemed harmless until I matched his trips to Paige's posts. When he said he was in Spokane, Paige posted dinner for 3 in Reno. When he claimed his hotel Wi-Fi was bad, she posted a video with his voice helping her son with a puzzle. When he said he had an early meeting, she posted a morning clip of pancakes with his hand reaching for the syrup. Every little thing became evidence. I made a folder on my laptop called Taxes, so he would never open it. Inside, I saved everything. The boy's name was Owen. I learned that from a birthday video. He had turned 5 a few months earlier. 5. That number almost broke me. 5 meant Grant had not just had an affair. It meant years of him leaving our home, kissing Ivy goodbye, and driving to another apartment where another child ran to him. I tried to remember what our life looked like 5 years ago. Ivy had been 4. She had started asking why Dad was gone so much. I told her Daddy worked hard for us because I believed it. Around that same time, Grant told me we needed to be more careful with money. He said travel costs were up. Some reimbursements were delayed. We should cut back until things stabilized. So I cut back. I stopped getting my hair done regularly. I bought cheaper groceries. I wore the same coat through 2 winters because Ivy needed a new one first. When she wanted dance lessons, I waited until the studio offered a discount and still felt guilty signing her up. Meanwhile, Grant was pulling out cash every month. Not huge amounts. That was the trick. 200 here. 300 there. A grocery store cashback withdrawal. A client dinner on a card I never checked closely. Gas charges in places he was not supposed to be. Small lies stacked quietly until they became a whole other life. I barely slept during those 2 weeks. I would lie beside him when he came home and listen to him breathe. Sometimes he reached for me in the night, and I had to turn away before my body remembered what my heart was trying to reject. That was the confusing part. I hated him, but I missed the husband I thought I had. The man who danced with Ivy in the kitchen. The man who rubbed my shoulders while I washed dishes. The man who cried when our daughter was born and whispered, "I didn't know I could love this much." How do you grieve someone who is still sleeping beside you? I acted normal because I had to. I packed lunches, answered school emails, smiled at neighbors, sat across from Grant at dinner while Ivy talked about spelling tests and friendship drama, and all I could think was, there is another child somewhere who probably tells him about his day too. One afternoon, Sandy, a friend from Ivy's school, stopped me in the parking lot. "You look exhausted," she said. I almost told her everything. The words climbed up my throat so fast I had to swallow them down. I said, "Just not sleeping well." She touched my arm. "Whatever it is, you don't have to be Superwoman every day." That almost made me cry. By the end of the 2nd week, I had enough. Not everything. Maybe you never get everything from someone who lies that well. But I had enough that he could not call me paranoid. Enough that a lawyer would understand. Enough that the other woman would know I was not some jealous stranger trying to ruin her life. I called my sister Leah and asked if Ivy could sleep over that Friday. Leah did not ask many questions. She just said, "Of course. Is everything okay?" I looked at the printed screenshots spread across my kitchen table. "No," I said. "But I need one night where she isn't here." Grant came home around 7 carrying takeout like it was any normal Friday. "Smells good in here," he said, stepping into the kitchen. I was sitting at the table with a folder in front of me. He looked at the papers first, then at me. The color drained from his face. There were screenshots of Paige's kitchen. His hoodie. His hand. The Father's Day card. His reflection in her microwave door. Dates printed under each one. I waited. Some small, pathetic part of me wanted him to say it was not him. I had proof, but the part of me that had built a life with him still wanted one impossible escape. He did not say, "That's not me." He said, "How did you find that?" That sentence finished what the video started. I leaned back in my chair. "So it is you." Grant set the takeout bag on the counter like it had become too heavy. "Tessa, is the child yours?" He closed his eyes. I asked again, slower. "Is Owen your son?" His face twisted when I said the boy's name. "Yes," he whispered. The room went quiet enough for me to hear the refrigerator running. I expected to scream. But when the truth finally sat in front of me, I felt strangely calm. "How long?" I asked. He pulled out the chair across from me but did not sit. "It started before Owen was born." That is not an answer. He rubbed both hands over his face. "About 6 years." 6 years. He started talking fast, like enough words could bury the truth. He said our marriage had been strained. He said he met Paige during a bad time. He said it was never supposed to become serious. He said when she got pregnant, everything became complicated. He said he tried to end it but could not abandon a child. Then he said, I was trying to keep both families safe. Both families. I stared at him. You mean you were trying to keep yourself safe, I said. He looked hurt, which almost made me laugh. That's not fair, he said. Not fair. My voice finally cracked. You let our daughter think every missed dinner, every work trip, every late night was because you were providing for us. You made me budget groceries while you funded another home. You made me feel guilty for buying Ivy a winter coat. He said my name softly, like he was trying to remind me that I had loved him once. I hated that it almost worked. Does Paige know? I asked. He looked down. That was enough. I stood up so fast the chair scraped against the floor. What does she know, Grant? She knows I have a daughter. She knows things are complicated with you. With me. I told her we were separated emotionally. I stared at him. He kept going, quieter now. I told her we still lived together because of Ivy. I told her it was basically over. There it was. The version of me he had created so he could be decent somewhere else. Not a wife. An obstacle. I picked up my phone. Grant's eyes widened. What are you doing? I'm messaging her. He moved around the table. Tessa, please don't. That was the first time he sounded truly afraid. Not when I found out. Not when I asked about the child. Only when he realized I was about to take away his control of the story. You will destroy her, he said. I looked at him. You already did. I opened Paige's profile and sent one message. My name is Tessa. I am Grant's wife. We are not separated. I think we need to talk. Then I attached a photo from our wedding. Grant sat down like his legs had stopped working. My phone rang 8 minutes later. Paige was crying before I even said hello. At first, neither of us knew how to talk. There is no normal way to introduce yourself to the woman your husband has been lying to for years. She said, Are you really his wife? I said yes. She made a sound I still remember. Not a scream. More like the air left her body all at once. He told me you were separated, she said. He told me you only lived together for your daughter. I looked across the kitchen at Grant, who was sitting with his elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. He lied, I said. Paige cried harder. I wanted to hate her. For 2 weeks, I imagined her as some smug little secret, someone who knew about me and did not care. But the woman on the phone sounded destroyed. She said, he was here last night. My chest tightened. He told me he had to leave early because his daughter had a school thing, she said. I thought he was being a good dad. I closed my eyes. He had used fatherhood as a disguise in both homes. I asked if she could talk somewhere private. She said her son was asleep. Her voice broke when she said son. I could hear the moment she realized I knew his name. I'm not trying to hurt your child, I said. I know, she whispered. I just don't know what to do. Neither did I. For almost an hour, we compared pieces of our lives like two people sorting through wreckage after a storm. She told me Grant said he was divorced in every way except paperwork. He told her I was difficult, but that he wanted peace for Ivy. He told her he could not post photos because I would use them against him. He told her his travel schedule was because he split time between homes. I told her he slept in my bed. He came to parent-teacher conferences. He went to my sister's house for Thanksgiving. He kissed me on New Year's Eve. He complained about bills while sending money toward her rent. Paige went quiet. I didn't know, she said. I believe you, I said, and I hated that I meant it. Grant looked up sharply, like my kindness to her offended him more than my anger at him. After we hung up, he said, you had no right to dump that on her. I stared at him. You're unbelievable, I said. She's alone with Owen. And I was alone with Ivy every time you lied about where you were. He started pacing. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Everyone panicking. Everyone getting hurt. No, I said. You were afraid of everyone comparing notes. That shut him up. I slept in Ivy's room that night because she was at Leah's and I could not stand the smell of Grant on our sheets. Around midnight, he knocked and asked if we could talk like adults. I said, adults don't build secret families. He did not knock again. The next morning, I called Leah and told her everything. She went silent for so long I thought the call dropped. Then she said, do you want me to come over? Or do you want me to help you bury him? I laughed for the first time in days. It came out broken, but it was still laughter. I need you to keep Ivy one more night, I said. Done. And I need a lawyer. I know someone, she said. Do not move money. Do not leave the house without advice. Do not let him make you feel guilty. That last part was harder than it sounded. Grant spent the next 2 days acting like a man caught in a tragedy instead of a man who created one. He cried at the kitchen sink. He sat in the living room with his head in his hands. He kept saying he loved me, loved Ivy, loved Owen, and cared about Paige. The way he said it made me sick. Like love was something he could divide into hidden rooms and expect us to respect the walls. Paige and I kept texting. Not constantly, but enough. She sent me screenshots. I sent her photos. We compared dates. We realized he had used the same excuses on both of us, just reversed. When he missed dinner with me, he was helping with Owen. When he needed money there, it was a custody expense. The lies were not even creative. They were just effective because we both loved the version of him he showed us. 2 days later, his mother Gloria called. I knew Grant had told her something because she opened with, Tessa, I know emotions are high right now. That sentence told me plenty. I said, did you know about Owen? Silence. Then she sighed like I had asked something inconvenient. I knew there was a child, she said carefully. I did not know all the details. My hand tightened around the phone. Have you met him? Another pause. Yes. The kitchen tilted around me. Gloria continued, Grant told me you knew some version of it. He said the marriage was complicated and that you two had an understanding. I laughed because nothing else made sense. She sounded offended. I don't think this is funny. It's not, I said. That's why I'm laughing. She lowered her voice. You need to think about the children. Exposing everything is not going to help anyone. There it was. No anger at her son. No shame for being part of the lie. Just a warning for me to stay quiet, because silence always protects the person who made the mess. I said, the children are exactly why I'm not hiding this. Tessa, be reasonable. I was reasonable for 12 years. Look where that got me. She told me I was being vindictive. She said Grant had made mistakes, but was still a good father. She said tearing him down would hurt Ivy. She said Paige's child was innocent too, as if I had forgotten that while she was busy attending secret grandmother visits. I let her finish. Then I said, do not call me again unless it is about Ivy and only Ivy. She said, you're going to regret being this hard. I said, no. I regret being this trusting. Then I hung up. The lawyer Leah recommended was named Vanessa. I met her in a plain office that smelled like coffee and printer paper. I expected her to be shocked by my story, but she did not blink much. That was comforting and depressing at the same time. I brought my folder. Screenshots. Bank statements. Timelines. Travel dates. Cash withdrawals. The Father's Day video saved on a flash drive. Vanessa looked through everything quietly. After a while, she said, you did the right thing by documenting before confronting him. I had not realized how badly I needed one adult to tell me I had not been cruel for protecting myself. She explained what would happen next. Divorce filing. Temporary custody arrangement. Financial disclosure. Child support. Possible review of marital funds used outside our household. I asked if the money he spent on Paige and Owen mattered. She said it can. That answer did not feel like victory. It felt heavy. I did not want to become someone who counted every dollar spent on a child who had done nothing wrong. But I could not ignore years of money missing from my daughter's life, my home, and my choices. When I got back, Grant was sitting at the dining table. He saw the folder in my hand and said, so that's it? Yes. You're filing. Yes. He leaned back and stared at the ceiling. You didn't even try to talk this through. That almost sent me over the edge. I said, you had 6 years to talk. He said, I didn't know how. No. You knew how to talk. You talked to Paige. You talked to your mother. You talked every time you needed to build the next lie. You just did not talk to me. He had no answer. Telling Ivy was the part one dreaded most. I refused to do it alone with Grant improvising a soft version where he was confused and everyone still loved everyone. Vanessa suggested a counselor. Leah agreed. Even Grant, after arguing for a full day, finally understood I would not let him control that conversation. We met with Hazel, a counselor who worked with children, in a small room with a blue couch and a shelf of toys. Ivy sat between us holding a stuffed rabbit she had brought from home. Grant looked wrecked. I probably did too. Hazel guided most of it. We told Ivy that her dad had made choices that hurt our family and that he had another child. A little boy. Her half-brother. Ivy stared at Grant. Did you cheat on Mom? She asked. No one had used that word. Grant's face crumpled. I made mistakes. Ivy looked at me. Did he? I would not lie to her. Yes, I said gently. But the grown-up details are not something you have to carry. She started crying then. Not loud. Just tears running down her face while she clutched that rabbit like it was holding her together. Then she asked, "Does the little boy know about me?" I looked at Grant. He looked away. "I don't know," I said. She wiped her face with her sleeve and whispered, "That's sad for him too." I almost broke right there. Because my daughter, at 9 years old, found compassion faster than the adults who were telling me to stay quiet. After that, everything moved slowly and too fast at the same time. Grant moved into a short-term rental. I stayed in the house at first with Ivy. Paige sent one message saying she needed space, but wanted me to know she had ended things with him romantically. She said she would only communicate with him about Owen. I believed her. Maybe that makes me naive. Maybe she will take him back someday. I cannot control that. What I know is that when the truth reached her, she did not attack me or pretend I was the villain because that would have been easier. She broke too. A few weeks later, we met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. It was awkward but not hostile. She looked smaller than she did in her videos. Tired. No makeup. Hair pulled back like she had not had the energy to care. For a while, we only talked about practical things. Dates. Records. What he had said. What he might try next. Then she looked down at her coffee and said, "I loved him." I said I did too. She nodded, and for a second, neither of us was the wife or the other woman. We were just two women sitting across from each other, embarrassed by the same man. She said, "I'm sorry we met this way." I said, "Me too." That was the closest thing to peace we could offer each other. The divorce is not final yet. Grant has already tried to slow it down by saying he wants reconciliation. He keeps telling people he is trying to repair the family. What he means is that he wants everyone back in their assigned places. Me quiet. Paige confused. His mother sympathetic. The children protected from the truth just enough that he can still look like the victim of a complicated situation. But I am not in my assigned place anymore. I moved into a smaller rental with Ivy while the financial side gets sorted out. It is not beautiful. The kitchen has old cabinets and one bedroom window sticks when it rains. Half our things are still in boxes because I get tired after work and Ivy gets overwhelmed if we unpack too much at once. But the first night we slept there, Ivy crawled into my bed and said, "It feels quiet here." I asked if that was bad. She shook her head. "No, just quiet." I understood what she meant. Our old house had started to feel haunted by every version of Grant I had believed in. The husband packing a suitcase. The father promising he would call. The man texting hotel complaints from another woman's couch. This rental is not the life I planned. But nothing in it is pretending. Grant still calls Ivy. Sometimes she answers. Sometimes she does not. I do not force her either way. Hazel says she needs room to feel angry without being made responsible for his sadness. Gloria tried once to corner me at Ivy's school event. She said, "Your bitterness is going to cost that child a relationship with her father." I looked at her and said, "His choices already did." Then I walked away. It was not dramatic. No one clapped. Nobody saw except Sandy, who later handed me a coffee and said, "Good for you," like it was the most normal thing in the world. That was enough. Last week, Grant sent me a long message. He said he wakes up every day regretting what he did. He said he misses coffee in our kitchen. He misses Ivy's laugh. He misses me. He never meant for things to get this far. I read it twice. Then I typed, "You didn't lose one family. You built 2 families on lies and acted shocked when both houses collapsed." I almost deleted it because it sounded cruel. Then I sent it because it was true. I do not feel like I won. I want to be honest about that. People love revenge stories where the wronged woman walks away glowing, richer, prettier, completely healed. That is not what this feels like. Some nights I eat cereal standing at the counter because cooking for 2 still feels strange. Some mornings Ivy asks questions I do not know how to answer. Sometimes I miss the old version of my marriage so badly that I have to remind myself it was not real. But I also sleep without wondering what city my husband is lying from. I buy groceries without silently calculating what he might be hiding. I look at my daughter and know I chose truth before she had to grow up inside a lie. And maybe that is the calmest kind of revenge. Not destroying him. Not screaming loud enough for everyone to hear. Just refusing to keep his secret after he spent years making women and children live inside it. So I guess I'm asking, was I wrong for messaging the other woman, filing for divorce, and letting the truth come out, even though it blew up 2 families and changed all the children's lives forever?